honor. I am grateful. YouthBuild, family, community, and class of 2013. I want us to welcome Martin Luther King III.
Let me first just thank God for this day, for bringing us all to this point, to this juncture, for this most important graduation for the 2013 class. Now, I'm supposed to be about 10 minutes. I got to say a few things. It is a special honor to be here at Zion Baptist Church, where Dr. Leon Sullivan, pastor, who did so much for this city, our nation, and our world, particularly on the African continent. It's important to understand that history. But it's also I'm very honored to be with the current pastor of Zion, Pastor Carl Prince. Now, you know, as I said, I was supposed to do 10 minutes. A lot's on my mind. And I first also have to thank Dorothy Stoneman and her team, her entire team, because this is a team effort. It's not about any one individual, although it is about each of you today as graduates. Where you are in your lives is a result of the energy and the fact that you each have chosen to take the step to take charge for your future. And my dad often said that at the cornerstone of our democracy is for us to acquire education. Because you see, we live in a nation and a world that is changing dramatically every day. And while this is an important graduation for each of you, and it's a huge step, it's not the ending, but it really is the beginning of what you should do within your lives. I remember a few graduation ceremonies of my own. And each one of those were milestone periods in my own personal development. Graduating from high school, graduating from college, and then doing a little further study. Life is a journey, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's not always where you start. You see, all of us were born. All of us will live, and at some point we'll go home to God. But we don't control any of that. We didn't control when we arrived, and we really can't totally control when we may leave. But what we do control is that period of time in between when we were born and when we go on home to glory. Tomorrow, as has already been stated, we will begin the process of observing the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. March on Washington, my dad became the preeminent speaker. There were a number of persons that spoke. Just as tomorrow, when Reverend Sharpton and I, along with over 100 organizations, including YouthBuild, will join us in that demonstration. Now, I want to give a little context, and I'm really going to try to hit it and quit it. No, I don't mean they can't, what y'all talking about. Y'all going somewhere else. That ain't what I'm talking about. What I mean is this. This won't work today because it's not quite happening that way, but I fly often on Delta. Delta used to have a slogan, and that is, they are ready when you are. Some of you all may remember that. Delta Airlines. The problem is, though, if you're not ready when they are, they will leave you. And so I have a very limited amount of time. I'm not actually doing Delta today, but I still have to get right back to Washington because there are activities that are taking place as we speak. And so I want to talk just a brief moment about why we're marching tomorrow. Now, many thought the civil rights issues were done. In 1964, after the 1963 March on Washington, Congress created a Civil Rights Act, which gave us citizenship. And then in 65, Congress created a Voting Rights Act, where John Lewis and Hosea Williams and others marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, so we would have the precious right to vote. And in 1968, Congress passed fair housing legislation. So many thought civil rights was done. But just this year, or less than 2 months ago, the United Supreme Court chose to gut the Voting Rights Act. What that means is, even in your state of Pennsylvania, that there are restrictive laws on the books now around voting that cut back on early voting hours, that create a new ID. Nobody's against IDs, but why do we need a new ID when there wasn't a problem with the old ID? Now, if they were bringing IDs to our home, maybe it's all right. But you got to go to a station, a government operative building, and get an ID. And the hours that the places are open are not that long. And so in the course of our daily lives, most of us don't have time to go get another ID because we are trying to make ends meet within our own families. But in addition to that, that ID also costs an amount of money. So that's like creating a new poll tax. Again, there hasn't been any documented significant proof of voter fraud. So why do we need new ID, other than to keep people from voting? Poor people and people of color and students and seniors, creating restrictive barriers. That's one issue we're going to be addressing tomorrow. We got to petition Congress to create a new Voting Rights Act. Second thing, and there are other issues, is 2 weeks after the Supreme Court issued its decision, there was a verdict that came out of Florida, a verdict on the Trayvon Martin case, a verdict that a number of us are concerned about because we know that there has not been justice done as it relates to the family of Trayvon Martin. But the bigger issue, in addition to the tragedy of Trayvon Martin, is that 58% of those in jail are people of color. We are 13% of the population, yet when you go down to the courthouse, Richard Pryor used to say, looking for justice, all you find is just us. That we must change. We can and we will do better. God didn't make you to be in a jail cell. We are God's highest creation, humankind. And so we got to figure out part of the problem, yes, is on us. What I mean by that, in the Bible it says, if you train up a child in the way that they should go, then that child will not depart from that training. And some have abandoned that responsibility of training up our children. So we got to train up our young people in the way that they should go. And the second issue is that the criminal system does not have enough indigent defense counsels. We don't have enough attorneys to represent people who cannot afford to pay for legal assistance. So civil rights is alive, my friends. And my dad would be telling us that we got to find a way to create jobs and opportunities. The mantra in '63 was jobs and freedom. And in 2013 is jobs, freedom, and justice. And then we got to reach and develop a good immigration policy. There are so many issues we got to do. And then we got to stop turning on each other. We need to turn to each other, not turn on each other. There's something wrong with the violence in our own communities. There's something wrong with that. Everybody got to be packing something. You feel like you're not a big person unless you're packing. Now, you see, again, violence is the language of the unheard. My dad used to say that man is God's highest creation. We really are. I mean, you've never seen a group, and when we want to resolve our conflict, we resort to other lower animal means. You've never seen a group of dogs talking about Shakespeare or any philosopher or theologian. You've never seen a group of cats talking about, I'm Democrat, I'm Republican, I'm independent. They don't have that ability. You've never seen a group of gorillas talking about, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish, I'm Hindu, I'm Buddhist. Some people say, I'm atheist. They don't have that ability. You never heard a group of orangutans talking about, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'm lesbian, they don't have that ability. Amen. But God's highest creation, humankind, has the ability to say, reason, and think, and critically make decisions. But yet when we get ready to resolve conflict, we resort to lower animal means of resolving that conflict. We must. And we can do better. We've got to lift up the love ethic. See, that's what my dad used to talk about. I'm gonna go to love and head out in just a second, because you see, we got to love all of this out of us. We got to put America back to work. We can't accept the fact that in our communities, 18 to 30-year-olds, the unemployment rate is in many communities 20%, way too high, and in some communities as high as 40%. Unacceptable. We can't accept the fact that the poverty level of our community is as bad or worse than it was in '63. We can't accept that. We can and we must do better. We've got to find a way to put America to work. Yes, it benefits African Americans, but it benefits Americans in general. We are a better nation than the behavior we're exhibiting. My dad talked about these loves. I'm going to talk about the lowest and the highest. The lowest level of love was the love that was defined by utilitarian love. He used to say you love someone as long as you can use them, and when that use runs out, you love them no more. That's not the kind of love we need. We don't even need to engage in that. There are other loves. There's romantic love, there's humanitarian love, there's mother's love. But I'm going to talk now about the highest love. He said the highest love is defined by the word agape. This is what we need. It is a love that seeks nothing in return. You love someone if they're old or young, rich or poor, black or white, Native American or Hispanic or Latino American, African or Asian. You love them because you know that God calls you to do that. And that's the kind of love we've got to embrace if we're going to change our communities around America and change America. So I'm here almost afternoon, but still this morning, to tell you what you got to do, young people, is continue to prepare yourself. You see, in life, you may not know what you're going to be, but just be the best self. Be your best. My dad said that in life, when you find out what your calling is, you must do your job well. Do that so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn could do that job no better. He went on to say, even in life, if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, why, go on and sweep streets like Michelangelo carved marble. Go on and sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Go on and sweep streets like Raphael painted pictures. Sweep streets so well that all the host of the heavens and earth would have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper that did their job well. Historian Douglas Malloch captured it another way by saying, why, if you cannot be a pine on the top of the hill, just be a shrub in the valley, but be the best little shrub on the side of the road. Be a bush if you cannot be a tree. If you cannot be a highway, just be a trail. If you cannot be the sun, just be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. You've just got to be the best of what you are. That's what our calling is, and this is part of what the best is, a graduation ceremony. We are dictating our best. And so don't get no ways tired. Why? Because we've come much too far from where we started. You see, nobody ever told any of us that our roads would be easy. But I'm here to tell you today that I know our God, our God, our God, our God, our God did not bring any of us this far to leave us. God bless you, class of YouthBuild 2013. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in our nation's capital.